My name is Fam. I work at the Port Phillip Eco Centre in St Kilda, and today we are at Stony Creek Backwash or Stony Creek Reserve, just alongside the Yarra. We're here today to look at a particular type of microplastic called Nurdles. Most of the Nurdles that we find here today would have come from different areas in the Melbourne metropolitan area. There are many factories around Melbourne that use Nurdles for their manufacturing processes, manufacturing plastic mostly. And the Nurdles come down through the creeks and through the big rivers here like the Yarra and the Maribyrnong, and that's how they get into Port Phillip Bay. Nurdles get into the environment mostly per accident. It's not like factories on purpose, put them in the environment on purpose. Often what happens is that they get spilled in the transport process, or even during the process of using them in the factory, they might get spilled. And it's actually really hard to clean them up because they bounce everywhere and they're tiny. So as soon as they're somewhere on the floor, it's easier to sort of sweep them into the drain than it is to actually pick them up. Nurdles are the base material that plastic products are molded out of. So if you want to make a plastic product, any plastic product you might use, for instance, a plastic bottle or plastic sunglasses or anything, a chair maybe, you get a bag of Nurdles, you melt them down and you mold them into the shape that you want to have, and that's how plastic is made. When wildlife sees this, so I'm talking about fish or birds, and they see this floating in the water column, they think it is food. It's really easy to confuse it with a fish egg or maybe a crustacean larvae or something that they would normally have in their diet. They tend to absorb toxic molecules that are already diluted in the waterways. So that could be heavy metals, PCBs, DDTs, things like fertilizers and pesticides, and they tend to bind those molecules to their plastic. So when a fish or a bird swallows the plastic, those molecules get into their tissues, and through the process of bioaccumulation and biomagnification, it travels up the food chain, where the people and the animals who eat the biggest fish eventually get those toxins back into their diet.
Basically, I'm just trying to sift out a lot of the dirt that's happening in here. So we're trying to leave as much vegetation in the ground here. The local friends group are trying to rehabilitate this whole area. They're working pretty hard, as you can see, to try and rehabilitate it, and it looks like an uphill battle just with how much industry's starting to take over nature, basically.
For me, it's not really a chore that I have to do. It's a part of what we love doing, and we meet incredible people while doing it, and that experience, kind of meeting the people and meeting friendly faces, kind of inspires me to keep on going and doing what I'm doing.
You can't change the world overnight unless you're like in a war or something like that, and it's not what we want. We're in the war against plastic, changing it small steps.
Yeah. And it's never going to be an immediate thing where overnight everything's going to be changed, but there's so many people doing this all around Australia, all around the world, and if you can just all come together and work together, well, then you can achieve so much.
We're all here today and we can see the impacts that industry is having, but you walk around other places and you can see the impacts that our personal livelihoods at the moment is also having on the environment. So we're all to blame, but then we can always, all of us, work together to help make a difference.
Often people need a trigger to do it. It could be anger. You remember those photos of those seabirds with their stomachs full of plastic and things like that? And that was a massive shock when that came out. People were all over the place. These are the Nurdles that we collected yesterday from the Stony Creek Backwash. As you can see, there's a lot of other microplastics in there, lots of sticks and a bit of soil as well. Once we've sifted this batch here, this is what it will look like. And these noodles were actually collected in the exact same spot, but only 4 square meters was sampled, which gives you a bit of an idea of the scope of the problem. So I'm estimating there's about 25,000 noodles in this bucket, possibly more. And if you collect that from only 4 square meters and you extrapolate that number out to the rest of the beach or wherever else there may have been a spill, then you can imagine the numbers we're talking about here. All the Nurdles that we collect, we keep, and what we're going to end up doing with them is hopefully a community art project. We're also going to use these Nurdles to take around into the schools that we work with, just to raise awareness about the problem of plastic pollution, so that the kids get to see what the problem is, and also that they know what to look for when they're going to the beach with their families and are going to help us out with this project.
It's all really about reducing our demand on convenience and having everything right there. So if we just take a step out, just to chill out and, you know, think to ourselves, hey, life's not all a big rush. We don't always have to get lunch on the go and buy it in plastic packaging, and we can all just chill out and have a think and just take a bit more effort to do things in our daily lives, and then it'll all be sweet.